Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Welcome students to At-Tariqatun Nuraniyah. We are moving forward. We are still in lesson number 1. We had 2 sessions where we covered from Alif to Dad. Today inshallah we are going to cover from Ta to Kaf. Let us review those older letters first before we move on to the next letters. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Alif,
ألف
Ba,
با
Ta,
تا
Fa,
ثا
Jim,
جيم
Ha,
حا
Kha,
خا
Dal,
دال
Dhal,
ذال
Ra,
را
Za,
زا
Sin,
سين
Shin,
شين
Sad,
صاد
Dad.
ضاد.
Okay. Today we'll move on to next letters. These 2 letters are also heavy letters. If you see Kha, Sad, Dad, Ghain, Ta, Qaf, Dha. So Ta and Dha are from Khussa, Daghtin, Qidh. That's how you are supposed to memorize these heavy letters. Khussa, Daghtin, Qidh. Khussa, Daghtin, Qidh. And Ra, of course, is special. So this letter ends with Alif. Let's pronounce it. Ta,
طا
Ta,
طا
Ta.
طا.
Okay. Remember I said before that the heavy letters, the back of the tongue is raised as though you're going to go towards the ghain place. Ghain place, if you say the gha, the back of the tongue is raised, right? So when you say these heavy letters, the back of the tongue is raised. So you don't want to simply say ta, 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 ta. No, you want to say ta, right? It has to be heavier. Ta. Go ahead. Ta,
طا
ta,
طا
ta.
طا.
Okay. So this letter, of course, comes from the same place as ta, which is the roots of the upper teeth. Roots of the upper teeth. You place your tongue there, the front flat part of the tongue there, and you raise the back of the tongue and you create the heavy sound. Ta.
طا.
And you, similar to that, you do not want to spit out the sound. You do not want to say ta, ta, ta. No. Keep the sound solid. Keep it contained. Ta,
طا
ta,
طا
ta,
تا
ta.
طا.
Okay, next letter. This letter is also a heavy letter, ends with alif. Va,
ظا
va,
ظا
va.
ظا.
Okay, comes from the same place as val and fa, meaning the front flat part of the tongue against the edge of the upper teeth, right? And it is heavy. That means the back of the tongue is raised, and it is soft. Another thing, it is soft. So you do not want to say don't make it tough, right? Easy. Va,
ظا
va,
ظا
ta,
طا
va,
ظا
ta,
طا
va.
ظا.
Next letter comes from the middle of the throat, right? And it has a ya in the middle, but this ya is not for the e sound. Rather, this is a little special, right? So let's pronounce it. Ain,
عين
ain,
عين
ain.
عين.
So the ya is actually the same. But in practice is the same as e, because when we say this, we say We end up in the E sound, yes. But the ayn here would be pronounced with the fatha, which is a. Instead of e, we say a. So a again comes in the middle of the tongue, middle of the throat. If you remember the ha, remember I said the epiglottis, the flap, moves back towards the back of the throat, right, and creates a very narrow passage through which the air passes. This is the same thing, but this is more tighter than the ha. You see, it moves back, but this one is more tight. So ayn,
Ayn.
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 So there's barely any space there for the sound to pass. That's why, right? So it moves back to create that. Ayn,
Ayn.
ayn,
Ayn.
ta,
Ta.
dha,
Tha.
ayn.
Ayn.
Next letter is heavy letter from khussa, ضغط قذ. Ghain is from there, and we pronounce it similarly, but the sound is different. Let's pronounce it. Ghain,
Ghain.
ghain,
Ghain.
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 This comes from the same place as kha, right? But the kha is from the root of the tongue, but down, a little bit down, further down. But ghain, you move up a bit, same place the root of the tongue against the uvula, right? And it's heavy, right? So and it's wet. Kha is dry. This one is wet. See, something like gargling sound. Ghain,
Ghain.
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 If you realize how the tongue moves up to this ghain, ghain.
Ghain.
So the tongue for the heavy letters, all of the heavy letters, it moves towards the ghain place. It doesn't touch the ghain, but moves towards the ghain place. If you realize, look, I can easily go from there, make a transition to ghain. See, right? See, because the tongue is already raised towards ghain. Same thing with this. Right? So the back of the tongue is raised towards the ghain place, right? Right? So ta,
Ta.
dha,
Tha.
ayn,
Ayn.
ghain.
Ghain.
Do not pronounce it as gain. G. There is no such sound in Arabic. Ghain.
Ghain.
Okay, next letter. Has alif at the end. Make it long. Fa.
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 This comes from, if you realize the lips, the outer part of the lips are the dry parts of the lips. But then the inner part, the wet part, that is where you put the edge of your upper teeth. Put them in the wet part. Fa,
Fa.
fa,
Fa.
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 Okay. Ta,
Ta.
dha,
Tha.
ayn,
Ayn.
ghain,
Ghain.
fa.
Fa.
Okay. The next letter, it is the last of the heavy letters. Khussa, daghtin, qidh, qaf. Okay, let's pronounce it as alif in the middle, ends with the fa sound. Qaf, Okay, so where does this come from? This comes from the last part of the tongue. If this is a tongue, the last part of the tongue moving up to touch the soft palate. If you realize the top palate, there's a hard palate, but if you go all the way back, there's also a soft palate. So the last part of the tongue touching the soft palate, and that is where this sound is produced. Keep it solid. Do not cough it out. Don't say no. Keep it contained. Cough.
Qaf.
Cough.
Qaf.
Also, do not click it. Don't say do not click it. Rather, keep it solid. Cough.
Qaf.
Cough. It's
Qaf.
one of the shadid letters. One of the tough letters. Cough.
Qaf.
Cough.
Qaf.
Ta.
Ta.
Va.
Va.
Ain.
Ain.
Ghain.
Ghain.
Fa.
Fa.
Qaf.
Qaf.
Okay, the last letter for this session. If qaf comes from the last part of the tongue, then kaf is a bit towards the outside. It's right next to it. Right? There's a difference, very slight difference, and that is between the soft and the hard palate. Where the hard palate ends and the soft palate begins, that's where this letter comes from. It has alif in the middle, ends with fa. Let's pronounce it. Kaf.
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 Okay. So as you can see, ka, and qo goes a bit more back, but ka towards the outside, right? So when you pronounce this letter, do not cough it out. Don't say calf. No, ka, calf,
Kaf.
calf,
Kaf.
calf.
Kaf.
Okay. Ta,
Ta.
va,
Va.
ain,
Ain.
ghain,
Ghain.
fa,
Fa.
qaf,
Qaf.
kaf.
Kaf.
Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, study all these letters before you move on to the next letters. We will see you in the next session inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.